everyone for staying with us. I have two doctors on the program. One is a medical doctor and one is a doctor of public policy. Dr. Tokwe Fasua has been speaking with us on the program. He's an economist and a public policy expert. And I'm being joined by a Senate chairman on public health, former senator from Kwara State, APC member, who joins us virtually from Saudi Arabia. Thank you so much, Senator Ibrahim Oloriegbe. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you, Sean, for having me.
There is an interesting link. Thank you so much. There is an interesting link between issues of public financing and administration that Mr. Fasua has been speaking with us about. But there is another angle to that issue, which is the health sector financing and tackling a very, very disturbing disease like polio that has really disturbed this country. And at some point, people will look at maybe a few states in Nigeria that are still battling that disease. Now, so Mr. Bill Gates was he's in Nigeria, and there are conversations with governors, and the vice president was there, and they're also seeking a collaboration and help from Mr. Bill Gates. Give us an understanding of this kind of collaboration as a yielded result from the point of view of the subnationals, the state governments.
I think you put two things in one. Yes, the support had yielded some results. Particularly what I would say is the technical aspect, because a country like Nigeria is a what we call middle level. It's not a low-income country per se. I'm sure Fasua will agree to that. But of course, things have deteriorated a little bit in the past few years. So given that, it's only about getting our resources out together and allocating it appropriately. So the support we get from partners has been of help, particularly from technical perspective, from developing good policies, from learning about interventions that work in other countries and applying it to our country, and helping us to be able to put our thought process together. But be that as it may, I may just jump to say that what you are discussing from your introduction to the second part is about what are we allocating to health, both at national and subnational level, particularly at subnational level. What being allocated to health is very, very small. Nigeria committed in 2001 to allocate 15% of budget to health. We've never, ever achieved that. In many of subnational level, it's less than 5%. Even at the national level, it has risen to 6 to 7%. So it means we are not allocating enough, and what we are allocating is not also being used effectively and efficiently. So if we want to get health and achieve universal health coverage, first and foremost, we have to increase our allocation. At subnational level, where the governors are meeting, there's a mechanism that we developed which we call Basic Healthcare Provision Fund. It is to be able to put an additional resources to health, which is 1% of consolidated revenue fund of the federal government and state. Federal government since 2018 has been committed to do that, but particularly from 2020, it has become a statutory transfer, and 1% of the consolidated revenue is allocated for primary health care as a basic health provision fund. This is in addition to the regular health budget. Unfortunately, at subnational level, it's not been happening like that. Many states are not applying that 1%, and what they are allocating as their budget is also small. And they are using even the 1% that is coming from national as a replacement rather than it being an add-on. They didn't add their own. So this is part of the challenges that we have. So what I want to say is that we require support of partners living our level of population at the poverty level, but we have to do more for ourselves. We must do more by allocating more resources and by using those resources efficiently and effectively to achieve the results we need to achieve.
Now,
what do you say?
Dr. Oloriegbe, you sat as the chair of the Senate Committee on Health for 4 years. Now, up until 2016, poliomyelitis has been a major concern, a major headache for Nigeria, for the subnationals. And the vice president has said by the end of 2023, the plan of the federal government is to end polio in Nigeria. Don't forget that by end of 2020, there was a declaration that Nigeria is no longer in danger of endemic polio. But by 2022, there is a strain of polio virus that are taking almost 165 or more people lives in Nigeria, that affected over 165 people. That means there is still some trouble. But what the vice president said today, and the target of the end of 2023, is that feasible?
It's feasible if the right things are done. What we have, let me just correct it, we don't have wild polio virus again. What we have, the 165 for the figures we are putting, is what they call vaccine-derived polio virus. I mean, which is as a sort of a mutation that happened from vaccine, and it does affect children that are zero dose who has never had vaccination of polio. So it's possible and doable if the right things are done. One is to be able to get the primary healthcare system to function well. Of course, the polio eradication program has been more of a vertical program, but we need to strengthen the system. If we strengthen the system, it means we have health workers that are well trained in every facilities that cover, or every community has access to that. We have vaccines easily available. The vaccines must be potent, that is, must be effective. That means we have to maintain the cold chain, and we have to be able to get the vaccines to the children that need them everywhere in the country. One of the challenges we've had with why we have this vaccine derived because of the zero dose is because of the conflict we have. We have to reach the conflict area. Of course, during the polio campaign, the conflict areas were reached using some mechanism, engaging with the stakeholders there. So we need to do more of this. It is possible and feasible in the next 6 months if we strengthen the system and we walk through the system with the experience we've had in the last years. We should be able to achieve the target the vice president has given.
Well, look at the manner in which the governors have approached it. They are seeking help. I mean, is it that bad, public health financing in Nigeria, to the point that we're seeking our help? Some kind of handout. Mr. Fasua has spoken to that effect. How much of those kind of funding in the past have been judiciously used?
Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as that. I think if we generally improve our revenue sources, then health, education, and other social sector will benefit more from allocation. It's bad because the revenue has been dwindling, and many of the states they go with cap in hand, depending on the federal allocation. They are not looking, just like the first one is saying, once we look at the national level also, we don't look at subnational. Subnationals have to look at the revenue source. They need to think out of the box to generate more revenue to be able to meet their needs in terms of what the services they need to do to their people. Of course, the revenue that will come from the national, which is what they share from federal allocation, based on what the president is doing now, as Fashion has said, I think the president will grow the national revenue. That will increase more allocations to the state. But then, state themselves must think out of the box and look at other sources, how they can generate revenue. Some states have demonstrated this. If I look at what Lagos, a state like Lagos, and some other states have done, but some other states have potential also beyond. Of course, Lagos can do because of the population, the private sector, and so on. But some of the other states have mining, they have other things, they have agricultural products, which they could look at how to convert this into revenue sources. And once they build their revenue, they will have more to be able to allocate. I must say that we cannot get help from people, a person like we cannot replace our need, or our need cannot be met by partners. Nigeria is a very huge country, and we have a potential. The figure I read, which I read in the media, is about $7 billion over 4 years. If you put that, you divide it into, it's less than 2 billion per annum. What is putting down? You convert it to naira. From my calculation, it's very small if you look at our population and the health needs. So as such, we must increase our own revenue and when we get more money, allocate it appropriately to the sectors that will increase our productivity, which will be health and education.
Senator, and I will be very frank now. I mean, anyone who has money has a right to use the money in whatever way they want to use it, either for leisure or for tourism or even for medical tourism, as the case may be. But what is very sad is a brain drain that we are experiencing. The fact that a lot of Nigerians don't trust public health system in Nigeria. They do not believe that their lives are safe getting medical help in Nigeria. And what even worsens it is that we have cases in the past where even leaders of the country had to travel out of the country to seek help, medical help. I mean, this is a very disgraceful scenario for a country that is so blessed with very good brains that can deal with these issues. But unfortunately, we've been bedeviled by lack of organization at the very highest level, such that our own cannot be treated at home. They have to be flown abroad to be treated there. Is that bad? How can we stop this? This is an eyesore, don't you think?
Yeah, it is. But I'm privileged to have information that the new government is very much concerned about that issues, and there are plans to be able to turn things around as fast as possible. One is
there. We lost connection with Senator Oluregbe there. We'll get back to him because that is a very important point that a lot of Nigerians are worried about.
We need to retain the brain.
Okay.
You know, to retain the brain means we need to be able to provide them with enabling environment that will make them to stay, to work. Enabling environment in terms of necessary equipment, enabling environment in terms of infrastructure that will enable them to do what they know how to do. But more importantly, they have to be motivated in terms of remuneration as well. And there are issues that are outside the sector, like the security must be taken care of. But specifically with the sector, the plan is to massively improve our infrastructure in the tertiary health cares that we have across the country, to equip them with necessary equipment. That's a plan, to have a special fund that will enable all the tertiary hospitals we have to have necessary equipment for them to function. And to be able to do this, there will be partnership with the private sector. This is part of the plan that the current administration is planning to do. And there will also be a linkage between Nigerians and diaspora and Nigeria who are working here, because the technologies that enable us to do what we call telemedicine, in which case experts can be outside the country, but they could be able to link up with experts within the country to do a lot of work. I think in the next few months, it's one of the medium-term plan of this government. Within the next 1 year, we should be able to see a massive improvement in our health infrastructure, and we will see more retention, because there are plans to also be able to improve on remunerations and not only salary, but some allowances that will enable health workers to stay in the country, and for those that are outside the country to also be able to return or come back to be able to give services either in and out of the country. So these are some of the plans which I'm privileged to have information, and I'm sure, of course, things will happen in the next few months.
I mean, I just wish that your optimism is exactly what will play out in the coming days. Senator Ibrahim.
I'm very optimistic, because health is a very important priority for this current administration. And there are a lot of plans that are already put in place to be able to see how this will happen. Of course, it relates to the president promised that he will increase health sector budget to 10% from the first year. And there are plans also to discuss with the Subnational, as we discussed earlier, that the basic health care provision fund should be made to be what to be charged as first charge to state resources from FAC, so that that money goes straight for primary health care. If governors agree to this, if minimum of the 1%, or the plan is to go to 2%, we will have massive improvement in primary health care. The current plan is to have one functional primary health care per ward. But the plan is that within the first 4 years of this administration, it should increase to 2 per ward, to be able to increase not only physical access, but to be able to make more effective healthcare delivery to the people. Because some wards are very big. If you have one functional one, it may take more than 10 kilometers for patients to be able to access that. But if you have it to 2 in the next 4 years, it means you have more access, and we'll be able to improve on the quality of services that we are giving to the people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I mean, you look at the sophistication in healthcare these days, and you wonder, several cases of misdiagnoses in this country. People get diagnoses in this country, they get abroad. The diagnosis is totally different from what they get. And people are almost dead when they found out that what they diagnosed them of in Nigeria was totally different from what they found out abroad. I'm just hoping that
it relates to infrastructure again. It relates to the availability of necessary equipment, the top class, top level, cutting-edge equipment that are available now. Because the health there's a lot of advancement, given technology, given knowledge, given innovation. The diagnoses are more specific nowadays, and even treatment are also very much more specific, less invasive.
All right.
We have people with knowledge of those ones, but they need to require equipment to be able to get there. And I think, just like I said, I'm optimistic because I'm privy to the plans of the current administration in terms of what to do in health. And I'm sure in the next few months, we're going to see a massive change in the situation of our health sector. Thank you.
I'm just, because I'm a Nigerian, I'm terribly patriotic. I just I'm just optimistic, and I'm hoping that things will get better. Senator Ibrahim Oluregbe, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Good night.
Mr. Faswa, I mean, our problems are multifaceted. We talk about health. We talk about public debt profile of the country. So the question is, we went on that break and I was painting a picture of a school of thought that feels, look, we might be having things very tough. The subsidy ripples will hurt the economy for several months, and at least 6 months, the pinch is going to be biting. No. And you don't think so?
No. In fact, just today I pushed out an article where I said, for now we need to wrestle back our president from the fangs of the liberal economists who would want to push that. So we have the subsidy removal, we have the what's the other big thing that's going on now? So
the measure of the exchange rate.
Exchange rate issue, So
the floating of the naira.
And both of them would have an impact on inflation. And if you are not careful, you may have a spiral whereby all these things are feeding themselves like a Frankenstein monster. They're feeding on themselves. And so, we also know that the president is a left-of-center thinking kind of person. He's a people's person, because at the end of the day, you can't foist all of these ideas on the people and say, you know what, keep suffering a little bit more for 6 months. 6 months is a long period of time to suffer. And so we believe that going forward now, we want to begin to see the incentives, if you like. Don't call it subsidies. The government just has to do its job. There's a growing mentality now in some quarters whereby investment in health, investment in education are being termed as subsidies. They're not subsidies. They're not subsidies. They are government responsibility to invest in health, to invest in education, and all of these areas. Because the investment in human capital, remember, we've got a big problem, the Japa syndrome. The doctors, everybody is running out of this country. This European, Canada, and all of those guys, they're taking our best brains. Anybody they see, they snatch. They give you whatever. You are going to probably start at the base there. They're never going to make you the DGs of their corporation, hardly, but they take you all the same. Yeah, so we need to start investing in our people. So our work is cut out for us in Nigeria. The government work is cut out for it. We don't even have 6 months of suffering
because if you look
because the government has every opportunity
just a moment. The optimism, as of yesterday, the dollar to the naira closed at about 815 naira.
Well, closed at 763. But there were some trades that went in at 815.
Yeah.
That, you see now, unfortunately, the same advocates of, so-called single rate, which is never going to happen. There's never going to be
able to achieve it.
There's never going to be a single rate. Forget it. And there's no single rate anywhere. If you went to the United States, in one single bank, you get different rates. In one bank, officially. Your rates you depend on how well you can bargain. If you travel to the UK, go to Travelex, okay? They can display a rate. If you are smart, you will negotiate that rate. You will get a better rate than what's displayed. There's nothing like a single rate anywhere. But however, we've now been sent on this wild goose chase to be pursuing which one is NAFEX, which one is I&E window, which one is a CBN rate, which is a weighted average of how many rates. Come on. So yesterday, what happened was 815 was the highest trade.
Yeah.
Some amounts were sold at that month. However, there was also a low rate of 476. Somebody bought some money and sold some money at 476. That same yesterday. But the rate closed at 763. Now, but I wish that in time we would get out of this, yo-yo, this rigmarole of juggling rates and all of that. Give us a break. Let's know exactly where we're going.
But the question is that, for those who say, this policy that are coming at the same time.
Exactly.
There is no way that the Tinubu presidency will not be forced in the immediate to look for money.
It has
to look for money to fund the economy.
Yes.
That means unnecessarily, probably, because if you sell asset, you may not get the money immediately. The process of selling the asset will take more than 6 months.
Some of the even our crude oil proceeds, which we believe should for example, we've deregulated the sector now. There's nothing like subsidy again. We're expecting a 6 to 7 trillion inflow, but that will come in monthly, as you said.
So the question is that
daily
between now and the end of the year, the Tinubu presidency, we need money.
There's no problem with that.
There's a possibility, and in fact, in the first quarter, just remember, in the first quarter of next year, they will probably need some money because next year we open with a bit of difficulty if they don't get an immediate money, a low-hanging fruit. Is that not going to be turning to borrowing again,
so
which the PMO has warned against?
I think what we need to have, first of all, is a positive spirit about all of this thing. And that positivism needs to be sold to Nigerians. The idea that, oh, we're going to be suffering. Look, I think everything starts, prosperity and what have you, starts from the mind. So basically speaking, there's nothing wrong in that borrowing. And I've also advised before, and I write a lot, I don't, anyhow, but that, in terms of our borrowing, we should also look local borrowing, Naira borrowing. In fact, today I was reading about Ricardo Hausman in Harvard, did recommend he said, like, if you always borrow in foreign currency, there'll be a mismatch in your balance sheet that will throw you off course. Let's think about grounding our borrowing locally. Nigerians are taking their money abroad. And then we're going to the same abroad to go and borrow money at floating rate.
But the question is that...
let's do more of local borrowing in Naira among our people and move on from there.
We need to go, and those who will say, for those money that we are paying back, as at yesterday, Nigeria will pay several percentages higher because of the exchange that has gone up.
Exactly. That's for the foreign. That's
an implication
for the foreign currency.
So
loan, that's it.
But from the moment
we won Kemi Adeosun in 2017-18 against this foreign borrowing, which is now a problem to us. For every money we borrowed at 199 naira today, if we have to pay back, we have to pay at 7, whatever it is, the closing today,
because it's
780. You know what I'm saying? So every country, when I studied the history of debts, national debt, every country that is wise started from borrowing local. They deepened their local, and they got the commitment of their people. There were war bonds, there were diaspora bonds, there were all sorts of bonds that they raised locally before going abroad. So it's not just about, when you think borrowing, it's not about running abroad to go and collect all sorts of crazy loans. And if you want to go abroad, maybe go to the multinationals if you know that they can, multilaterals, or I prefer some Chinese loan as well. I think we see some of the infrastructure they have built on ground. I don't mind that.
I really open, and thank you so much.
But the point is that, Shehu, this country is full of opportunity. Our balance sheet can be leveraged if we have projects to do and to help our people to develop our human capital. The future is bright for Nigeria.
Dr. Fasua, public policy expert, PhD in public policy. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.